CGI muscle-ups. The kettlebell struck the ground at Jason Statham's feet, scattering sand into the air. Blake, bare-chested and muscular, exuded confidence as he stood at the center of the Santa Monica Beach gym, a smirk playing on his lips while his crew cheered exuberantly behind him. "Show us Hollywood or step aside." Jason, clad in a worn gray tank, had just been stretching beneath the bar moments before. He raised his gaze gradually, sweeping the sand from his leg. Merely warming up, Blake advanced, deriding his stance, bellowing "imposter" in the ring. Mobile devices began capturing footage. Beachgoers stood in stunned silence, some murmuring softly, while others simply gazed in disbelief. Jason's gaze intensified. Blake gave a playful shove, mocking, "Movie edits don't apply in this realm." Jason stood up with a serene demeanor, placing his hands on the bar. "A circuit of strength. Let us embark on this journey." Blake let out a hearty laugh. "Game on." As the throng by the shore paused in anticipation. Before we move forward, be sure to like and subscribe to witness Jason Statham's thrilling showdown with Cocky Jim. Hey there! Drop a comment letting us know where you're tuning in from today. The Santa Monica Beach pulsed with vitality beneath the warm embrace of the late afternoon sun. Bicycles raced along the boardwalk, portable speakers blared vibrant summer tunes, and the ocean roared in the background. The outdoor gym resonated with the symphony of metal colliding, barbells striking rubber mats, chains clinking with each muscle-up, jump, and exertion. The salty breeze intertwined with the sheen of perspiration. As the sun dipped low, TikTokers twirled and swayed near the benches, chasing the elusive magic of the golden hour for their perfect clip. Jason Statham slipped silently into the shadows. A gray tank top clings to a lean frame, complemented by black joggers that accentuate a carved physique. His movements unfolded with a measured grace, each stretch deep and intentional, breath steady, eyes keenly focused beneath the shadow of his hood. He arrived not seeking the spotlight, merely a subtle routine away from the spotlight. Yet, within the stillness, his presence carried a weight that was undeniable. A serene lion amidst a cacophony of barking dogs. Blake, bare-chested and sun-kissed, with veins prominently etched across his skin, sauntered between sets as if the very sand belonged to him. Recently turned down by a supplement brand that opted for Jason in a campaign, he had not let it slip from his mind. Beside him, his friends Kyle and Ray exchanged knowing smirks, casting furtive glances at Jason, eager for a moment to ignite the atmosphere. They were not engaged in training. They circled around. Close by, a young lifeguard awkwardly navigated the kettlebell swings, battling to maintain a steady rhythm. His coach perused Instagram. A veteran, bearing the marks of sacrifice, sat nearby, one arm draped over a walker, offering a respectful nod in Jason's direction. The elderly gentleman donned a cap, marked by the emblem of safety. The inaugural indie stunt film by Jason. There was a glimmer of acknowledgement in his gaze. And then it occurred. A phone shimmered under the sun, held aloft in the midst of a scroll. The instant captured. The tension enveloped the scene, heavy and impenetrable, much like a dense sea fog. A confrontation was on the horizon, and each camera lens sensed the tension in the air. The weights clashed again, and then a heavy silence descended like a hammer's blow. "Imposter in the ring." Blake's voice cut through the stillness of the open air. Instantly, heads turned. His hand struck the pull-up bar Jason had just utilized, causing it to rattle with a resounding metallic clank. "CGI muscle-ups, correct? That is the way you acquired your films." Jason remained poised, unperturbed. He rotated his neck with deliberate slowness, the sunlight glinting off the sharp line of his jaw. "I'm just warming up," he stated with calm assurance. His voice resonated with a deep, earthy quality. It failed to ascend to the level of Blake's intensity, yet it resonated more deeply. As gravel settles upon stone, he maintained a relaxed posture, his arms resting at his sides. The atmosphere in the gym grew taut. Blake's crew gathered around him, amplifying the atmosphere. Hollywood arrives to capture stories, not to bear burdens. Kyle chuckled softly as he retrieved his phone from his pocket. Ray let out a snort beside him, joyfully aiming the camera. Let us witness the enchantment of your editing prowess. Blake advanced with measured intent. Really, my friend? You prepare for previews. I engage in training for repetitions. He gestured dismissively at Jason's figure, ridiculing the manner in which he executed the warm-up drills. That is not true power. You're aware of it. It is common knowledge among us all. Jason remained utterly still, his gaze unwavering. He cast a fleeting glance at Blake before shifting his gaze toward the gathering crowd by the railings. In that moment, Blake transcended the boundaries set before him. He encroached upon Jason's territory, breaching the distance that should remain untouched by others. Do you seek respect? Blake inquired, his jaw clenched, his voice dripping with malice. Deserve it. In a swift motion, Blake thrust his palm against Jason's shoulder. Jason took a step back, his footing faltering. His foot connected with the mat, finding balance just in time to prevent his heel from slipping away. He stood tall once more, yet his eyes, those piercing blue eyes, transformed. Gone is the warmth. Silence is no longer an option. Jason rolled his shoulder once, as if adjusting a mechanism. Then he fixed his gaze on Blake, icy and unyielding. Concentrated. Are you truly prepared for what you've just requested? Blake let out a chuckle, brimming with confidence, blissfully oblivious to the change that had already begun to envelop the atmosphere. As the moments unfolded, a hush fell over the crowd, their whispers weaving through the air like a delicate thread. Did he really just push Statham? The man is quite mad. He has reached the end. Tension wound tightly, poised on the brink of release. Blake retreated, a self-satisfied smile playing on his lips, arms outstretched as if he had just claimed a victory. Very well. Let us come to an agreement, he exclaimed, his voice resonating throughout the entire beach gym area. Muscle-ups, kettlebells, jump box, sprinting to the rail and back. That is our circuit. Just one shot. Let us observe whether Hollywood can endure. Phones surged like a tidal wave. Numerous beach enthusiasts gathered along the rail, their cameras focused intently on Jason and Blake. One person murmured, "It's bound to go viral," while another softly countered, "No chance Statham agrees to this." Jason hesitated to reply. He casually turned his head, surveying the arrangement. A pull-up bar, a kettlebell rack, a jump platform, and the stretch to the rail and back. His expression remained a mystery, shrouded in ambiguity. Approach, concentrated, yet, beneath that composed facade, a different force simmered, a measured fervor. The beach hushed, as though the very essence of nature was drawing closer. With a subtle roll of his shoulders, Jason adjusted his tank top and offered a brief, decisive nod. "Set it up," he commanded, his voice sharp and clear. That was everything he needed to express. It sliced through the tension with the precision of a finely honed blade. The audience buzzed softly, a blend of astonishment and eager expectation. A young trainer stood by the fence, whispering, "He's actually doing it." Blake's crew erupted in cheers, thumping his back as if he had already claimed victory. "Show this actor what real training looks like," Kyle shouted, already setting up a TikTok live stream. "Let us proceed, Blake." Jason approached the pull-up bar with deliberate steps, each one filled with intention. His movements were subtle, yet authoritative, devoid of ostentation, simply an embodiment of presence. He lingered beneath the bar, casting a sidelong glance, and caught a subtle nod from a man seated quietly in a folded beach chair, a disabled veteran marked by his stillness. The man had observed Jason since the very start. Upon his head rested a cap, the word "safe" elegantly stitched across its front. The solitary nod from the vet struck with a weight that eclipsed any insult Blake had ever hurled. Jason returned the nod, understated yet confident. The moment had arrived. Jason's gaze turned steely, his hands dusted with chalk, moving at a leisurely pace. Muscles wound tightly, determination activated. The atmosphere among the crowd shifted dramatically. What started as mere entertainment had transformed into something profoundly charged. "He refuses to yield," a voice whispered. "Hold on." Another remarked that he is indeed serious. A surfer called out from the sidelines, unafraid. And in an instant the energy shattered. For a fleeting moment, Blake's smugness wavered. In that fleeting moment, just before the action commenced, Jason locked eyes with Blake, his voice steady and composed as he remarked, "Let's see what unfolds when the cameras can't intervene." Blake clapped his hands and jogged in place, energizing himself, exuding confidence. "Are you prepared, cinematic maestro?" He let out a sharp bark. Jason stood poised at the line, brushing chalk from his fingers onto his gray tank top. He rotated his neck with a deliberate motion and gave a subtle nod. Now, with greater intensity, Blake shouted. At my signal, the audience was enveloped in a tense silence. 3, 2, 1, and off we go. Blake surged ahead, racing toward the pull-up bar with the intensity of a man pursuing his pride. He leaped, swung, and executed muscle-ups with fierce velocity. Yet his shape was untamed. Legs thrashing, breath labored. It was power, indeed, yet tinged with a certain carelessness. Jason's beginning was more subdued. With a firm grasp on the bar, he pulled clean, controlled, and powerful. Every repetition seamlessly transitioned into the following one. Every action purposeful. As Blake strained for momentum, Jason ascended with the precision of a well-oiled machine, fluid and effortless. With each repetition, Blake's form started to falter. A sheen of sweat glistened on his forehead. With a grunt, he descended from the bar and dashed toward the kettlebells. Moments later, Jason made his entrance, quiet, poised. At the kettlebell station, Blake overestimated his strength. With a fierce determination, he tore the bells from the earth, clenched his jaw, and pushed through each repetition with raw power. Yet, there was something amiss with his breath. His back curved elegantly. One bell teetered precariously to the side. Jason arrived at the station, chose a pair that was a touch lighter, and executed his movements with mechanical precision, transitioning seamlessly from deadlifts to high pulls. He refrained from showing off. He remained silent. He made a shift, and the crowd took note. "He's immaculate," a voice murmured softly. Blake triumphed once more, crossing the finish line ahead of the rest. Yet just barely. He faltered toward the jump box, his legs starting to lose their vigor. He attempted to surge skyward. His initial leap touched down with an uncomfortable thud. His second attempt just skimmed by. Jason approached the box. Without a moment's hesitation, he leaped into the unknown. Touched down, recalibrated, leaped once more. Every landing is firm, regulated. As the last repetition approached, Blake faltered. He grazed the edge, faltered, and almost tumbled. Gasps echoed through the air. Jason moved seamlessly, as if nothing could disrupt his flow. With a final leap, he propelled himself into the sprint zone ahead. At last, the concluding stretch, a swift 60-yard dash to the beach railing and back again. Blake's arms surged with energy. He struggled for air, his body operating on the last remnants of energy. Yet Jason surged forward, gaining ground rapidly, his speed escalating like a powerful wave in motion. His breath flowed steadily, a tranquil rhythm in the stillness. His posture was rigid. They arrived at the rail almost simultaneously, yet it was Jason who made contact first. In the final stretch of the return sprint, Jason surged ahead, leaving him in the dust. Blake gasped for breath. His legs wavered. And there, amidst the flashing cameras, the throngs on the beach, and the buzzing phones, he faltered. His confident stride faltered, transforming into a hurried jog, then devolving into an awkward stumble. Jason pressed on without hesitation. He glided across the finish line, poised and composed, hardly breathless. Stillness. Then came the cheers. Jason made his way back to the pull-up bar, the crowd's cheers swelling around him. He snatched a water bottle from the sand, twisted the cap off, took a quick sip, and then nonchalantly tossed it into the nearby recycle bin. Blake fell to his knees, breathless, sweat cascading down his skin, his chest rising and falling as if he had just emerged from a fierce battle. His crew remained motionless, enveloped in silence, their phones resting forgotten in their hands. Jason pivoted, offering a single nod to the veteran by the fence. The man beamed broadly and offered a two-finger salute. In that moment, a voice pierced the silence. Indeed, that's Statham. All eyes were drawn. Whispers flowed through the air. Hold on, is it Jason Statham we're talking about? It was indeed he. A handful of individuals rushed over, their phones hastily capturing the moment. The seasoned SafeCap veteran elevated his voice once more. He doesn't speak with bravado. He brings it to a close. The beach hummed with life. In mere moments, the clip found its way onto TikTok. 2 million views. In a bold move, Jimbro takes on Jason Statham, discovering the true essence of strength along the way. Jason Statham departed before the applause could resonate. He strolled by Blake, momentarily halting to utter, "Strength isn't loud," before continuing on his way. Blake remained silent. He was utterly breathless. Silence reigns, devoid of expression. Blake lingered on the brink of exhaustion at the edge of the workout zone. His shirt drenched, breath coming in ragged gasps, forehead resting heavily against his forearm. His chest rose and fell with the intensity of a man who had just endured a grueling bout, as if he had faced off against a seasoned champion, and in many respects he truly had. Not in a physical sense, not through brute force, yet, in terms of pride, stamina, and sheer presence, he had been surpassed. His crew lingered in the shadows, hushed and watchful. Ceased the smirks. Enough with the excitement. Kyle cast his gaze upon the sand below. Nate continued to scroll through the footage they had captured, hesitating to share it any further. The exhilaration they had entered with had crumbled, now entombed beneath the heavy burden of public disgrace. At last, Blake rose to his feet, unsteady, shoulders burdened. He cast a glance at Jason, who lingered by the pull-up bar, sipping water, his eyes serene as though the world around him had remained untouched by chaos. "I was wrong," Blake muttered, his voice barely rising above the whisper of the breeze. "You have truly earned it." Jason remained unblinking. He took a step forward, extending a fresh bottle of water to Blake. "Hydrate," he instructed. "What about the next occasion? Engage in further training. Speak sparingly." Blake nodded, forcing down his pride with more effort than it took to gulp down a protein shake. "Indeed," he muttered softly. Just the silence of the room was palpable, devoid of any applause. No grand gesture of a handshake, simply serene with a sense of reverence. Yet not all remained silent. The veteran, his body marked by sacrifice, rested against the railing, a smile breaking through the shadows of his past. "He is indeed real," he exclaimed, radiating joy at the assembled crowd. "Indeed, that is unmistakably Jason Statham." A hushed tempest that unleashed a torrent of thoughts. A wave of excitement surged through the crowd. Cheers erupted. Whispers crescendoed into shouts. "There he is. He took that guy down effortlessly. The guy didn't even show off." A viral video has already gone live, drawing attention from all corners. More than 500,000 views in just 1 hour. The young lifeguard from earlier, who had been grappling with his technique, made his way toward Jason as he gathered his towel. "Sir," he said, his voice tinged with apprehension. "That was the most pristine circuit I have ever encountered." Jason offered a subtle nod, his silence speaking volumes. "Structure precedes style," he remarked. "Forever." He then pivoted, preparing to depart. Blake remained motionless, his gaze fixed on the man retreating into the distance, not out of shame this time, but deep contemplation. With each step Jason took, the message resonated more profoundly within him. True strength spoke in whispers, not in shouts. It simply had to complete what others merely feigned to initiate. Jason walked past the disabled veteran, offering a respectful nod as he murmured softly, "Be well." The veterinarian smiled warmly. "Likewise, Icon." With that, Jason Statham vanished along the shoreline, his form dissolving into the embrace of the golden sun. Yet, the instant of Blake's humility, the reverence of the crowd, the palpable shift in energy, would endure. Every device recorded it. Each consciousness held onto it. When Jason Statham proclaimed that strength is quiet, the world finally grasped the profound truth behind those words. On that day, the relentless force of discipline shattered the ego upon the unforgiving sand. Jason Statham maintained a calm demeanor, refraining from boasting or raising his voice. He effortlessly surpassed, endured, and departed. Blake, once brash and full of bravado, now stood mute, humbled before an audience that had witnessed the evaporation of pretense in the face of true skill. A single strength circuit turned the tide, and by the moment the clip reached 1 million views, the world had made its choice. True discipline brings a sense of humility that outshines mere excitement. Statham unequivocally demonstrated it.